focus on. Wouldn't it be great if we could get to a place where we're not, yes, black from a political perspective, 100%, I'm behind it, I understand that. I've always been very deliberate about using the term black, I always have. But actually, are we missing, you know, what black is almost homogenous.
We're the only group of individuals that are not allowed to be tethered to our countries of origin.
Cannot be disaggregated.
Yes. We're the only individuals. Yeah. Everyone else gets to be associated according to the countries that they're from.
They do.
We don't.
That's very true.
And that's why language is so important. Think about it.
It's the continent. Black African.
There's no such place as name a country called black.
Yeah. So that's true.
Name the country.
I know.
Name me one called mixed as well.
Thank you.
But it's true. That's not accidental. That's part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, if we can identify and self-determine, there's a lot of power that comes from that. So how about we remove that?
You keep people untethered to their heritage, to their history, all of those things that feed your self-identity, right? If you don't have a strong self-identity, you're easily manipulated, you're easily controlled, you're obedient, you're compliant, you don't question.
And actually, I think as well, you worry about the implications of stepping into your identity.
And we can see it play out every single day.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a Geordie Ghanaian.
You are?
I'm a Geordie Ghanaian, yeah. Because I identify with the fact that I was born in this country. I was born in Newcastle upon Tyne, but my heritage is Ghana. My parents emigrated from Ghana in the 60s. Yeah, so thank you for that. I'd not thought about that, actually. You see, I've learned something.
It goes to show, I think it's helpful to unpick some of those conversations and kind of make it about our personal stories. Make it about actually, you know, how can we get one step ahead? We've got a starter here, but there's that introspection. It's about how are we applying this individually, but also within our organisations. How are we taking that one step? Yes, we can read the book. Absolutely, do that. But how are we going to then apply that? And how is it going to be meaningful? So we were talking about our experience as black. You know, how do we unlock some of that application within the workplace? What are the kinds of things that we can do without, and this was another point I really liked, without asking us 8,000 questions about,
oh gosh.
Without asking 8,000 questions about, can we just...
What if we really want to solve racism? So can you tell us what are the 20 things that you think, what are those 20 things, just 20, just 20 things that you think we can do? And can they be time bound?
Oh, wow.
You know, because we just want to have a sense of how much work is involved.
And specific. And also, can you do it? Because
otherwise
there's no budget. So
God forbid you get paid.
Could you do that? Could you just go in a little group or something and could you sort that out?
And just give us updates.
Yeah, let us know. Because we need to post it online.
We're 30% of the way to solving racism. Don't worry about
just
it.
give us updates. Let us know how you're getting on. Yeah. If you need anything, I'm right here. Open door policy. Get out of here. Right? Come on.
I know. So I thought it was quite nice, the mix between having that data-led approach, but also, yes, we do need to have that constant engagement, and that's how we're going to get where we're getting. And we need to think, actually, it doesn't need to take, that was another thing I really liked. It was like, we just do need to get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. When are we going to start?
Yeah, we have got plenty.
There is enough data.
You know, if you had another problem, if we think of the parity compared to a different problem in your organisation that you needed to fix very quickly,
you'd get on with it.
There is a good chance by the end of the quarter you will have had a nice action plan. You might have even got someone in to lead up that work. You will have thought about your change model. You would have gone in there and it would be being done. Yeah? But this problem, it's always been here.
Well, this is also, I said to a group of clients not too long ago, tech people, what approach do you take when you're rolling out systems, printers, blah, blah, blah? It's the same thing.
Like in all these companies that right here and now talk about innovating, right? Which means what they're actually talking about is making bets on something that's unproven, that potentially they don't have the data to even show that the problem that they're trying to solve is even a problem in the first place. But to innovate, you've got to give it a go.
Yes.
Why is it we can't do? What stops us from being able to do that?
Yes.
Yeah, racism, you mean?
That's yes.
Apart from that as well.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Because it centers black people, and they don't want, and it's a relinquishing in power, and people are frightened of relinquishing any power. They think that, you know, if we give that to black people, they're going to take over. You know, they're going to completely, you know, swamp us. It's that slight sort of immigration mentality of
it's a myth,
overpowering.
Though. How much of a myth is that? Because I understand the discomfort about centering what people think is centering black people. I'm not exactly convinced that's what it is, actually, because I feel like if you achieve this, it's not just for black people, actually.
No, but you know what, Karla? I think you are further ahead than most people, if I can say that, because because most people are where Evelyn is talking.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're still being asked, what about? Yeah. What about this group? This group is feeling really left behind. I still have those conversations today when they go, Shereen, why don't you know, racism impacts so many other groups. It would be great if we could see 120%. But at the same time, our young people are still unemployed, right? Parts of majority black countries in the continent are being dismissed from employment without the same terms and conditions as their UK, Canadian and US colleagues. Yeah? We're still getting chased by the police.
Absolutely.
Right? We're still sharing the disproportionate burden of doing the work to solve a problem that we never created. So what I say to people is, if you tell me you've got an answer for all of that, cool. But right about now, right about now, I'm not seeing enough to say that I then have got to change my focus. And the other thing is, I'm not stopping. Somebody else go and write a book that impacts your, write an equivalent. I will support you 150%. You know why? Because it needs everybody. But you've got to ask yourself, why does the focus on black people scare you?
That's the key question.
Why does it scare you?
That is it. And why is it when you've brought me into this organisation to talk about black people, and as soon as we start talking about black people, the first thing you want to do is then tell me that actually it would be nice if we could also include. But do you not understand what my job is? So why do you want me to make this easier for you? Why is it that there's something here which means that as soon as I say, great, this is how we can do the black people thing, you go,
Remember that quote I put in when somebody said, listen, this will never get signed off for the board because it's only for black people. Yes, exactly. Can you come back and do something that's going to overtly benefits everybody else, so then we can go and get that signed off for the board?
Do you know what that's equivalent of? That's the equivalent of All Lives Matter, which makes my head explode.
You didn't
that makes
it.
No, you didn't.
No, I did put the phrase in italics. Early on.
But that's where some of the other sort of, for me, kind of unexpected, like painful moments came from, you know, where you're kind of reading the book and it's like, I know this is for a white audience, but this is also my particular experience because this is the work that, you know, that we do, right?
And that's also, the other thing is to say on that is that was deliberate because, and I wanted to prove a point even in the stylistic way I wrote the book, which is to say, you can speak to an audience without censoring them.
Yes.
All right? You can speak to a specific audience without censoring them. You can highlight an issue without over-indexing on trauma porn.
It's very good. It's so clever.
Do you understand what I'm
I don't think I've actually read a
book
book like that, actually, that's done that.
And you can also write a book that validates the experiences of the individuals most impacted by the very issue that you're talking about, all at the same time, without making it an academic textbook written in size 8 font that's got like 3,000 pages. Hello. You can do that. You can do that.
And it's enough. It's enough.
It's enough.
And it's concise. And it hits where it needs to hit. And it is that call to action. And, you know, you put it down, you pick it back up when you're ready. You know, you read it, I should probably do something. If you don't do something after you've read this book, I'll be surprised. I will be surprised because it cuts through all of that. This is, you know, it points to that discomfort. Yeah. You know, it asks you those questions. It like you say, it's that mirror. These are the things everybody else is saying. Probably there's a good chance you've said these things as well. You know, so it's that mirror to say, if this is you, this is how you can get over that. Get on and do some work. Here's a model to help you. You have a model to help you. You can even figure out where you are within this journey, because the chances are you probably thought, well, yeah, we did a sort of Black History Month event, and we also...
And we got these black kids coming in.
We got some photos on our website, you know.
But no, some of the photos on the website, though, I mean, Black History Month this year, I mean, some of the photos on the website... Some of the photos, though. I mean,
I don't need to listen. I don't need to see a Bayesian steel band. Yeah? No. I don't listen. No, Karla. I don't need to see. Listen. No. I don't need to see that. I also. I don't.
The image on the website.
Right. I don't need to see it. No, I don't. Yeah, we love that. Right. We love that. Right. I also don't need
rice and peas.
And jollof rice. No, I don't need to see. I don't need to see that.
I actually do want to.
No, I know.
How are you going to combat racism if you're not looking at a picture of jollof rice? How are you
It's
going to do
like,
it?
it's world food, and you know the amazing thing about that. Listen, we've had rice and peas, we've had jollof rice, we've had a goosey stew, we've had patty, we've had ackee and saltfish, we've had all, but we don't have equal pay.
Oh, sorry, but
You still don't know what to do.
the thing is, you still had to come in and cook the food, though. That's the thing. And you still had people going, oh, it's a bit spicy. Get out. Come on. No.
That's the only
my
time
stomach.
I'm actually prepared to do the work, because you can't let someone ruin the goosey soup.
Well,
so
this is
it's
it.
important.
Okay.
I will give you my labour for this.
I'll
give you my labour for free.
But this is how people and people will talk to their black. They will take a black colleague aside and say, "Do you think there's racism here?" And to be honest, that black person, I mean, what do you expect that black person to say? That individual in that situation, I've been in those meetings, I've been in those sessions, I've been in those corridors. Yeah. Obviously, if they ask me, they're going to get a very different answer, and they know that. So they'll pick off someone who's very vulnerable. Yeah, don't ask Karla. We've already had, you know, we don't want a Karla meeting. Someone said that before. We don't want a Karla meeting.
What's a Karla meeting?
Well, exactly. I really want to know the answer to
You
that
get told
question.
about yourself.
Yeah, basically, yes.
A Karla meeting.
Yes, a Karla meeting. I know. I think maybe this is a Karla meeting. I don't know.
Take it positive.
I know. But it's picking out those people that they think, oh, this person's going to tell me what I want to know. And they happen to be black or they happen to be Asian, so that will be okay.
So that example that you've just given is a prime example of how power is abused. Mm-hmm. When you are a minoritized individual and you don't have rank, meaning you don't have a seniority in your role, right? And you know that you're the only one or you're one of a few, and you are literally, in that example, as you said, you're cornered, right? Everybody's there looking, nobody else is looking like you, right? And somebody puts you on the spot, knowing the world that we live in, knowing what's played out on the news, and then they start asking you questions. There's loads of questions they're asking, but they start asking you questions like that. It's literally like you freeze. And this is what people don't understand. And then when you don't give them the answer that they want, you know what they turn around and say? Well, I thought you would have wanted to be part of the solution.
Mm-hmm. Well, but the expectation that someone with lived experience of being black would be able to go, oh, I've been waiting for you to ask me this question. Here, I've got this checklist of all these actions you can do. And actually, this is how racism plays out. It's not just because someone called me the N-word last week. It's actually the pay. It's actually the progression. Yeah. It's, you know, and on it goes. Yeah. How would we really expect for that answer to come out? So so I would really like for that introspection to come out. And I think it does in this book, where people say, well, you know, would that be the right thing to do, to go in, you know, how am I framing some of these conversations? Who am I having some of these conversations with? And who is it that I'm trying to serve? And yes, we're trying to serve underserved, sure. But actually there are benefits to the whole organisation. And I know you don't talk about the business case, and we don't go into that. And often I think in roles like ours, I feel like this is what the book did for me. It helped me kind of think, oh, actually I do creep into that it's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for business. You fall into that institutional trap, because that institutional trap is really powerful, actually.
And
so
it's set for you to do it that way.
well, exactly. And so this is why, for me, I know we were saying about the audience of the book. I was really grateful to read it, because I thought, actually, no, it helps to. Sometimes you go off. Yes, you have these core, you have these ethics, sure, but you also need to be. Actually, yes, let me just shake myself up a bit. Let me just remind myself. Let me just stay true. And let me just keep on that path. Because you do need that sometimes, especially these roles are very singular a lot of the time. So you kind of need that help from other people to kind of go, actually, yes, remember, this is the path, come on. And also just some of those helps around not slipping into that deficit model. So I think that groundwater approach, you really brought that out. And I thought, yes, actually, that's a really good way of helping people say, oh, you know, there's a dead fish. Oh, no, that dead fish is eating something. Oh, that silly dead fish. And then, you know, kind of making people say, actually, can we take a step back further? Can we take a step back even more? And can we think about this in that wider institutional context and the systemic context as well, so that we can actually start doing that work, rather than every time, oh, you know, the output of this particular demographic, oh, you know, they need a bit of let's throw some mentoring, you know, oh, I'm sure we can have a mentoring scheme. Maybe we can, you know, give somebody an award, pat them on the back for something, you know, that really tokenistic individualism sort of style. No, this is actually, if you want to be dismantling, think about it in that wider.
Think about the lake.
Yes.
You know, and I have to say, one of the reasons why I included that groundwater, because it's not mine, I'm very clear and very attributed to the authors that it needed to be, because it was often used in an education setting. But I first heard that, somebody recounted that to me, a fabulous individual who's now retired from a very large organisation in the US. He's Chinese. And he basically explained it on a live broadcast that I was doing on LinkedIn. And I kid you not, like in front of, like we had back in them days, remember I was doing my LinkedIn lives, do you remember them? Back in them days. And I got really emotional. I got really emotional, and I got really emotional because I just thought to myself, finally, somebody understands, right? Somebody is almost like, I call it like a Google map, right? You know, the Google Earth thing. So, you know, when you kind of go close and you zoom out, somebody is finally recognizing that the issue is not with the individuals who are on the receiving end, right? It's about the environment. It's all, and you know, and it's like, it seemed like such a simple thing that you're saying, because everyone was like, oh my God, yeah, that's such a good thing. But I was in tears, because I just thought, they understand. Yeah. They understand. Because remember, all of this time, and this is what people also don't understand, is so often, just by the definition of we are the ones that have to be coming up with the answers. I don't mean in a professional capacity, just as individuals, right? And they forget that the assumption with that is that there must be something in the black psyche.
Oh, yeah.
There must be something. What's in that?
DNA or something.
There must be something about you all, where you live, where you grow up, the food that you eat, right? Your schooling, your education system, you know, there must be something about you that makes this problem keep materializing century after century. And the reason why, I mean, I didn't, as I said, didn't need to go into it into this book. If I was to extend the book, I would have definitely done something about interrogating whiteness a lot more. The reason why I didn't, and it was very deliberate, is because I know what it means to be on the receiving end of whiteness. I can't tell you the psyche behind that. That has to be a white person that writes that. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I've got views, I've got perspectives, but actually that's not right. You know, it's not right for me to do. But we don't do enough of interrogating whiteness because we're too busy trying to understand the black experience.
And we're too busy centering that discomfort.
Yes.
And thinking, oh, if we don't, and that was another bit, if we don't talk about it, you know, the easier thing to do with that very binary approach, that good and bad binary approach, the easiest thing to do is not talk about it at all. No one will get in trouble. No one will be a bad person. Let's just not talk about it. And this is saying, no, you do need to talk about it. And I think it's perfectly, there are plenty of books that talk about whiteness. There was no need to talk about whiteness. And actually the theme of it, when we think about some of the stories that come out, that's the qualitative approach of, that is the qualitative approach of white supremacy. That's what it's saying, is actually these are the symptoms here, and that's what we're trying to address. Is here's what you're saying. Here's what you're saying is your resistance. Here's how we're trying to actually combat that. So it's more of a practical thing. If people want to read about whiteness, there are plenty of resources, you know, that talk about whiteness, and that's okay. And you know, please do, if you're beginning your journey, you know, start here, and then if you want to look at that a little bit more, we know what some of the biggest the books are in this place, and a lot of them are about compelling people to read about that. But I think, again, there is that discomfort for people to go, well, you know, it's almost like privilege, isn't it? It's that one of those words that people think, oh, well, you know, privilege, we don't buy into that. So I think this actually, in a way, helps with that. Actually, we don't need to talk about it. We just need to have a look. And we need to get on and do the work and the steps that are required, because it's all here.
We're not forcing you.
No.
Yes. Well, no. Unless you have a Karla meeting, then maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Karla meeting.
Karla meeting.
I'd love to come to one of those Karla
I don't know
meetings.
what Karla meeting.
I think the thing about this book as well is that what it does is it defines what racism is. I think when people hear the word racism, people are thinking about it at that very basic, almost kindergarten level of individualized overt racism, which obviously exists. But what we're talking about really is we're talking about the systems, and we're talking about the systems and the structures that are responsible for perpetuating and embedding with deep roots the racism that we experience each and every day.
And the power dynamic that's involved in that. And that's where, going back to the definitions, the rank, the power and privilege bit. And when you said, so if you're asking whether black people can be racist, the answer is no.
Full stop. Oh,
yeah,
wait, right. Drop mine.
Yeah, and it's like because so many people define racism and its privilege and its prejudice, right? Or discrimination. That's actually what you're seeing as racism. But the key thing to understand about racism here is the underpinning of power that has to be involved for that to really be a thing.
Because that's how you enforce it, through systems and policies and behaviours and exceptions.
Absolutely.
You need that. If those things don't exist, it's purely prejudice or bias or discrimination.
Yes.